This is how I make the Megan dress. Wash and dry your fabric. Trace and cut out the pattern pieces. Cut around the pattern pieces and your fabric. Transfer the pattern markings, notches, tailor's tacks and the darts. Attach the interfacing to the neckline facings, making sure they are glue side down. Stay stitch the neckline from the shoulder to the centre of the neck, and the same on the other side. Pin and sew the darts on the bodice and on the skirt. Sew from the wide end of the dart to the pointy end. Don't backstitch at the end. Leave enough thread to tie a knot. This will prevent puckering. Press the darts nice and flat, and always finish and press all seams at each step. Pin and sew the shoulder and side seams, making sure you match the notches. Now pin and sew the side seams of the bodice, again matching the notches. I use my overlocker to finish the seams, but I am finishing them open. I will then press these nice and flat with the iron. I sew the ends of the overlocker threads back through the stitches just to give a neat finish. Pin and sew the neckline facings together, making sure you've got them the right way round and the notches are matching. Finish the outer edge of the facing. I use my overlocker, but you can also use a zigzag stitch. Take it nice and slowly. Pin the facing to the bodice neckline. First match the seams. Then match the middle notch. And continue to pin around the rest of the neckline. Sew them together. Trim the seam allowance. Do this very carefully. You don't want to cut into the fabric of your bodice. This is to remove some of the bulk, as we'll be folding the facing back over on itself and understitching. Understitch the facing to the seams. This is a bit hard to show as my fabric's quite dark. I line the left hand side of my foot with the seam, if that makes any sense, just to give me a guide. It's to prevent the facing from rolling out and being seen on the outside of the dress. Give your neckline a good press and it should look nice and neat. Pin and sew the skirt side seams. Align the top edge and pin, then match the notch and pin the rest of the seam. So, using your 1.5 seam allowance all the way down to the bottom. And there's your finished skirt. Pin and sew the bodice and skirt together at the waistline, matching the seams, matching the notches and matching the darts. I've tacked mine in place so that it doesn't move when I sew it. hopefully your darts should line up on the front. Overlock this seam together for a nice finish. Again, thread those stitches through. Press the seam allowance ready for your zip. You should have overlocked this edge. Carefully pin the zip in place. This is the tricky bit. This dress has an invisible zip. Take your time and make sure you line up the waistband . I've also tacked this seam, and I'm checking to make sure that my zip can open and shut properly. An invisible zip foot isn't essential but is really useful. The teeth go in the groove. And as you sew, it opens the zip out. So all the way down to the bottom of the zip as far as you can go, and do the same on the other side. Pin the rest of the skirt seam below the zip to the hem. Use a normal zip foot to sew the rest of the seam. Pull the zip to the right and sew an inch or two from the bottom of the zip, and try and get as near to the zip as you can, and then follow the rest of the seam allowance down the back of the skirt. And closing the top of the zip, you need to fold the facing over on itself and pin it along the line of the zip edge. I cut that little piece of zip off so that it sits nicely. Sew as close as you can to the zip. Fold back to the right side and you have a nice neat finish to the top of your zip. Sleeves. Sew 3 rows of gathering stitches between the tailor's tacks that you put into the sleeves at the very beginning. Keep within your seam allowance. I use my foot as a guide just to go around the curve, and then I move my needle across very slightly and still follow the curve. That way you get 3 rows of close stitches. Make sure it's on the longest stitch of your machine, because you will be gathering these later to fit the sleeve into the sleeve hole. Pin and sew the side seams, making sure you match the notches. Overlock these seams open and press with the iron. I've also overlocked the bottom of the sleeve, and then I will be folding a hem of 1.5 centimeters rather than folding the material over twice. Top stitch the sleeves, the hems. I didn't film that part for some reason, and give them a good press. Inserting the sleeves. Make sure the fabric is right side to right side and match the notches. There should be 2 little notches for the back and 1 on the front, and also match the side seams. The sleeves on the Megan dress fit really easily, so this is a very good one to start with. Pin all the way round, and then all you'll have are the gathering stitches at the top to deal with. Right, so now we need to fit this amount of fabric in that little space. So we need to gather the stitches that we made earlier. This can be a little bit fiddly, but take your time, very gently but firmly pull on the 3 long stitches and slowly gather the sleeve head up. Try to make this as even as possible and pin in place. Take your time and sew the sleeve in place from the inside of the seam, or the inside of the sleeve. It's a bit hard to explain, but so that you are sewing over the gathering stitches. The gathering stitches are on the top and not underneath against the feed dogs. Press and finish the seam, the hem allowance. I've also just overlocked the hem, and I'm not going to fold the hem over double. Pin and top stitch the hem. Give the whole dress a good press and you've finished. And here it is, my Megan dress. And here I am wearing it. I hope you enjoyed this video. The first video I've made as a sew along or a how to make a dress. Thanks for watching.